Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Roaming Prepper channel. If you've not been here before, I'm your host, Pete. I'm normally the host. I was going to have my daughter host a few, but she moved to another state, so we're trying to figure that one out. In any case, thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to like and subscribe while I'm thinking about it, but of course, if you don't like what I say, you can give me a thumbs down. That's fine, too. Wanted to do a recap of my live stream this last weekend regarding the polls in the election. Now, you're probably wondering, well, what does the election, the polls, politics have to do with preparedness? It actually, it's an indirect thing. When you're dealing with politicians, the decisions that our elected officials make will undoubtedly affect things in our homes. Maybe the cost of food, it may be gas, it may be a variety of other things. You look back to 2019 versus now, clearly inflationary environment, clearly GDP issues, supply chain due to the COVID, understanding the greater geopolitics and the world as a whole will give you information to direct your efforts, your money, your time to certain aspects of preparedness. And so just so you understand where I'm coming from. So there was an analyst on Valuetainment, which is kind of like a little talk show, fringy show online. And I forgot the two hosts, it's a gentleman and a young lady. But the two of them talk about the pollsters, and they literally list 20 pollsters: ABC, CNN, Quinnipiac, Atlas Intel, which is some very independent polling agency, has over the last 8 elections been within 2.5% overall of what actually came out of the election, plus or minus 2.5%. Surprisingly, Rasmussen, sorry, I just blanked out there. Rasmussen, who's knowingly, openly the owner of Rasmussen, is known to be more of a classic liberal. Like, he believes in progressive society and, all ideas are open to debate kind of guy, which actually sounds more libertarian to me, but that's besides the point. He's known to lean left. He's actually been within his people have been within 3.5%, which isn't bad considering a lot of engineering projects have a 7 to 10% margin of error. He's 3%, that's pretty good. What was kind of shocking is that certain polls, CNN, Quinnipiac, ABC, were in the 7 to 10% margin of error. That's a big error in an environment where you see political wins because you have your left, your right, and then a lot of people in the middle who kind of intake information and they make a decision, more independent type voters. You're seeing people win elections, not in every state, but in general, the 4 to 9% range. A 10% margin of error is freaking huge. That you could completely call the election wrong. Now, why am I bringing this up? Well, there are two things that can happen here. Obviously, we have the two front runners because RFK Jr. has dropped. Tulsi never made an independent run. Vivek has dropped out. Everyone's pretty much dropped out. We're down to Harris and Trump. If Harris wins, we may see more inflationary decisions. It's hard to tell. Based on the past trends, the large spending and the large immigration is going to put a burden on the society. On the flip side, if Trump wins, he's going to clamp off the immigration, which in one respect would be good because now you're vetting people. On the flip side, you may need more workers to grow the economy, so he's going to have to try to figure out how to balance it. But you may see, regardless of who wins, a very negative reaction from the group that loses. And this is something that kind of concerns me, and this is where politics crashes into preparedness. It has become a trend. A lot of people point to January 6th and say they rioted in the Capitol, tore up the Capitol, and yes, they did. But they don't. You also have to point out that no less than 5 cities were set on fire. Roughly 10, actually. Hell, Portland had an entire section cut out of it where law enforcement and responders could not enter because they would be chased out. It was called the CHOP or the chat or something like that. It was just segregated away, and they made their own little community there, which also resulted in rapes and violence inside because now there was no law enforcement. We may see that again. Now, regardless of who you want to vote for, whether it's Kamala or whether it's Don, the bottom line is someone may react badly. And the problem is that social media and just our society in general, it's not even social media is a reflection of what's going on. The fringes of far left and far right, the Antifas and communists and the neo-Nazis have been given such a loud voice that it's encouraging people who otherwise would not be out being violent for no reason may come out and behave badly. And this is where, as a person who thinks of preparedness, you want to consider, what do I want? How do I want to schedule myself? How do I want to prep? How do I want to travel if the election goes one way or the other and people react badly, regardless of who winds up hitting the streets? It could be everyone, right? You could have Antifa and the Nazis and everybody having a big fight in all the cities. We don't know. This is where you want to start thinking. Do I know, if you travel like I do I know, am I familiar with my typical destinations, right? For instance, if I go to Houston, Dallas, Oklahoma City, Pittsburgh, I'm just throwing cities out here, Denver, these are all places I've been. I understand the lay of the city. I understand the more leanings of the politics in each respective city and the surrounding suburbs, because I actually ask people when I go there, hey, what's this area like? What's that area like? What are the politics? Can you carry a gun? Can you carry a backpack? Ask these questions when you're out and about, on vacation, business travel, work sites, whatever. Get to know your areas and get to know what is the lay of the city, not just demographically as far as culture and politics and language, but also physically, right? If your city, for instance, Pittsburgh has this river that kind of splits it right around Pirate Stadium, you need to understand that to get out, you either have to go across the ground, or you have to go across bridges, which go through these cutouts. Really, it's the palisade type cliff where the river passes. There's bridges to go through those hills and mountains. You need to understand, well, if I need to go out on foot, what's the smartest way to do that? What are my options? Should I leave if I think something's going wrong? Should I leave beforehand? You don't have to not travel. I don't have that option. The job says, hey, go here because we need you to do whatever. I'm going to go there. But if you can prepare, that's even better. Now also think about it family-wise. If you were in point A and you have your grown children, grandchildren, whatever, in point B, and they have to come to you or you have to go to them, do you know your path? Do you know your route? Have you driven it before? Do you have an alternate route, right? Because, I'll just go up Highway 10. Well, that's great and dandy, but what if Highway 10's full of burned out cars? Now you can't go down Highway 10. Being caught behind a riot is not when you want to try and find alternate routes. You want to kind of understand how things are laid out so you can go a different direction. So keep in mind the polls are not accurate. And because the polls are not accurate, people are having a lot of people have an expectation because they're not cross-checking numbers. They're saying, oh, this Trump's going to win or Harris is going to win. And it's setting a tone that if the given candidate does not win, the other side, somebody's going to freak the fuck out because they're going to be like, well, the poll said we were ahead X and they lied. Or if she was ahead that much or he was ahead that much and he lost, that means something bad happened. And it may well be. I'm not saying there is not corruption in the election cycle. I'm not saying people are not playing games with ballot boxes, because I believe they are. I believe it always happens, but it's becoming more, how shall I say, complicated, more elaborate now than it used to be, say, 100 years ago. But being said, whoever wins, someone's going to freak out. You need to be able to plan around that so you can continue going about your business and existing. And more importantly, if the people you love, your circle has to come to you, you have to go to them. You have a plan on how to get from A to B. So I'm going to leave you with those thoughts on this one. Again, the polls, I think, are setting us up for conflict because they're not accurate, and because they're not accurate, a lot of them are not accurate. If the results go in an unexpected way, I expect groups of people are going to react badly, regardless of what side they're coming from. So you folks, be good, be safe, God bless out there, and cross-check the numbers. Always question the numbers and question the science, because science should always be questioned. That's how it gets better. You guys be careful out there. I'll see you on the next video.